Recording now.
Right.
So
You better give us an intro then.
Yeah, who you are.
it's all on me, is it?
Yeah, but
You're
you're
on the middle stage.
Okay, well, if I'm centre stage, we decided to have a little chat about fitness at home that wasn't a really boring, idiotic do more burpees. So we get on with it. Right, David, how have you used your lockdown?
More on reflection, goal setting, putting Mcloughlin accordingly, just trying to make small, progressive daily progresses, yeah, just trying to improve on a daily way.
Does it work?
So far, some days, some good, some bad. You want to overindulge on some days if the weather's a bit crap, you're not able to get out, or you've had the kids all day or anything else like that, but most likely I always make sure I get something done each day.
Good. How about you, Sean?
I've just taken it as a bit of an opportunity to diversify my training into different things. So running more, more body weight stuff, more movement stuff, and then mindfulness practices. Just trying to get out of the habit of that the only training we have is with a barbell. So it's just opened a lot of doors to getting out of the gym really, which is something we probably should be talking about right running the gym, but you know, when the decision's taken away from you, like the only way to do is move forward, try and find something else, try and keep it interesting.
Yeah. So that leads into what you're saying, like diversifying things, making sure you're ticking over all the time, and it keeps. I think that the important thing is the variety. We're in a bit of a unique position where I have been in here because, well, I can be. And for me personally, what I've done is I've increased my volume of training because I've been able to sleep more. I haven't had, my workload's been cut right down thanks to Boris. So I've got a lot less to do, which means I can sleep more, I can be in here, which is, yeah, like it's a unique privilege. But if it wasn't, open to me, then yeah, I'd probably go down the same road that you guys have done.
How's your diet been? Because I think that's one thing that lockdown would have affected a lot of people.
Oh, I definitely got the lockdown belly first time. No, this time it's been better actually, because for me, I think like sleep is the lead domino. If I'm tired, I'll end up thinking I'll sleep a little bit longer, which gives you less time to prepare your food, which means you end up making worse choices. And think hormonally as well, you end up making worse choices. But yeah, it's been better. But it's been better because I've been arguably less lazy, and definitely I've got more time in my day to prepare stuff. Have you guys noticed the same?
Go on, Sean.
I set it down to like a decision making thing, and like the first decision I make of the day usually leads into the rest of the day. So if I start my day with something pretty off, it usually flows and sort of progressively gets a bit worse. So like when I started training in the mornings, my decision making got a lot better. Throughout the day I didn't feel like I needed a boost of anything. I'd started my day sort of on a bit of a high. So,
are you a bit of a morning routine kind of guy? Do you have the same thing you do every day? I wake up at this time, I have my coffee then, I have,
I try to be, but it doesn't always work out. I try and do that, and I try and stick to it. And there's days where you just want to, have a bit of an extra lie in bed, and it definitely makes a difference if you set, I suppose if you set that first thing off well, you don't want it to sort of domino downwards. You want it to start, make another good decision and another good decision. So I suppose that's maybe what it is.
See, a good decision for me sometimes is making a bacon butty and then drinking a coffee.
it's called real life.
And then going back to bed. Depends on what time the kids brought you up, but no, I'll totally get that shot.
Yeah, I mean, I know people like Tim Ferriss talk about a morning routine. It just doesn't work in my world. I don't have.
It's a 24-hour day, isn't it? In the way the world is now, especially with lockdown and people working from home and having to exercise. I mean, different kids, more than one job at a lot of the time as well.
Anxiety's high, like everyone's more anxiety, more thinking about like what's going on.
I mean, we can say, you should have X amount of hours of sleep, or people should say that you should eat this and do that, but realistically, I think you've just got to give yourself a little bit of credit. If you're moving forward each day in whatever capacity, whether it's mindfulness first thing in the morning, eating frog, and training first thing to get your mind right, or as it's you said, Steve, you may not have a set routine or something like that, but if you can just do something each day where you feel like a little bit more accomplished, or
I think it's interesting you spoke about anxiety, because for me, like, I think a bit controversially for being a PT, I don't think more exercise is always the answer, because if you're already tired, if you're already stressed, if you're already worried and anxious about losing your job or your financial situation or whatever else that might be, adding more and more high intensity work to that isn't always the right approach, I think.
No.
And sometimes the activity might be go for a walk. Like, you know, we're lucky that we live, the Peak District is over there. Like, go for a walk in the Peaks. If you live by a beach, go for a walk on the beach. Still move your body, but I don't always think that kicking the arse out yourself is going to be the best.
No,
the best
I think
approach.
that's what MyGym and Stockport Spartans are kind of really on board with as well. It's not just all about volume or frequency or intensity or anything like that. We are very much on the same page in terms of make sure you get your rest in. It doesn't always have to be using a barbell for the Spartans, as you said, Sean, or in your case, the exercising every day. It could be just going for a walk or going to see something that's seen for a while and just making sure that your mind's right as well.
Actually, then, leading on from that point, what have you done with your athletes and outside of the gym? What have you encouraged them to do?
We started trying to encourage a bit more of like what we class as resilience training. So getting people wintered to conditions. So like, it's not ideal to be training outside now, but that's just part of life. Like, winter happens every year, and it's a good opportunity to build up some toughness. Like, it's easy to train in the gym. It's warm, it's dry, but you know, when times get tough, you have like a flip side, a comparison, and you go, oh God, man! Remember when we were the gym was shut, and all we could do was go running with a loaded rucksack. It just builds up some resilience, and like for us, like we threw some history at it. So a lot of wars, or nearly all wars, were waged in the spring and summer months because the conditions were better. That meant that you had to train harder during the winter months. It was like
good time to pick a fight.
Yeah, it was how people set themselves apart. Is that how hard could you train through the winter months to make the summer and spring wars even easier?
I had no idea about that.
You want to be the stronger people, but on top of that, like you were saying, like I was saying, mindfulness exercises. I'm just encouraging people to just try and take it as a bit of a reset as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I do is on the field. We have the metric side of it, which is the weights, you know, the volume, the sets, and all those numbers. But happier athletes will perform better.
Yeah.
100%. The environment's important. When you say mindfulness, Sean, just for people that don't really understand what mindfulness is, can you just give us a quick explanation?
Just for me, mindfulness is just taking time to reflect. So it's setting, you know, small little, like a little homework exercise. Like this week we did a gratitude exercise, and it was literally write down 5 things that you're grateful for. It's not a lot, it's just, but when you sit down and write something out, and you think, wow, they're pretty big things that I've got going on. Like,
life's all right.
Like the gyms are shut, but actually everything's pretty cushy. We've never really had it easier.
No.
There's plenty of food going around. You know, everyone's in work still mostly. You know, there's a lot to be grateful for. And coming from myself, who like I have had mental health issues, and taking time to write those things down, because I've had points in my life where, although things have been great, like I've had to write them down and go, yeah, okay.
So you found that personally useful, and as a result, you pass it on as a coach to everyone else. Because we spoke before we got started, didn't we, about what actually is training.
Yeah.
We talk about the gym, this being the environment where we train, but actually, you know, there's nothing stopping us doing sprint work outside or
Going for a walk.
going for that walk, or as you said, reading books.
The same thing you said, what is diet? You know,
Yeah,
you transfer it to different things. It's not just
It's like that idea of what is training and why is it dictated that only lifting a barbell in the gym classes as training. You know, it can be as simple as like going for a walk. You know, it doesn't have to be the stereotypical in the gym stuff.
I totally get it. I mean, from my football days, you get to a point where you're not dealing with the athlete or the team or anything else like that. You're dealing with an individual, and a lot of that time you might have a set program put in place, but this person's come in, might have had an issue at home, something's happened in their life, whatever, and you've got to deal with it there and then. So you may have a program set up that you say, well, come to the side, you know, have a chat with them, maybe take them out of training one day or tell them to. a variation of the training online, or just send them all and stuff like that. And I think you bang on that, it becomes more about managing people and what they need.
How often does
rather
that
than
turn into a counselling session as
Well,
well?
it does though, doesn't it?
Like, I feel stressed and that's why my training's not going well. Well, why do you feel stressed? Like, is it work or is it home? You have these conversations and you get to know your athlete a lot more.
And you're adding value every time.
They're not just a performance tool to
No.
win games or get medals. And once you understand that person, then you've spent time and you can understand and plan things a little bit better, or just help them feel a bit better. Like, that's training.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about it being people.
Yeah.
One of the first questions I ask every client of mine on the sessions: how's your day been?
Today.
And that's not an empty question. It's
No.
not like it's not small talk. It's how are you feeling today? 'Cause if someone's had a really bad night's sleep and they've had a terrible day at work and life's falling apart around them, I know you're not going to get that much else.
You've already gone, right, we'll take this out.
Yeah, absolutely. So the plan for the session might have been A, it's now going to be B because of C. And for those reasons, I think that's why coaching is an art, not a science. It's not black and white. We're doing this irrespective of what's been going on in your wider world. Today's session is that, and you're going to get through it. And I'm just going to be angry at you if you don't manage to
It's
hit
not
your
just a
numbers.
numbers game, which I think is what a lot of people think it is. It's like setting numbers, oh, we're going to do this, I'm going to beast you, you're going to be on the floor.
No, but I think
if
that's
someone's down, there's no point hammering them.
No.
Yeah, but I think there's a certain type of coach, though, isn't it? And PT, where the whole calling card, the whole sales pitch is about how hard the work you. Well, if your only metric by which you train people is how tired you get them, then you're doing a really bad job. Strap a 50 kilo backpack on and run up a mountain. That'll get you tired. It doesn't make you any better.
No.
Yeah.
Like you say, Shai, anything you do, especially when you're working in fitness and training like that, it becomes more about a community thing, and the more relationships and rapport you build with your clients, you don't end up being that. You end up creating something completely different. You've had clients, they don't just last a couple of weeks or months, they last years.
Yeah, because personally, I think you build up a relationship with people, and the longer that relationship goes on, the more you
Sure, the goals change as well, so it's not just like
so they evolve with you.
Yeah, so they get to a certain level and the goals change, which is to my point. Same thing with Spartans.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, the amount of times I see you just speaking to your clients, like, what did you do so that you get a chance to train, say this and that, because you're doing so much of yourself to.
You need to care. You need to actually my first proper coaching was like a CrossFit coach called Carl Steadman, and the big thing that he preached was about coaching was just give a fuck. That everything else can be learned. You can learn everything else, but if you don't have that care for people, you pretty much can't learn it. You're either that sort of person who actually cares about people and how they are, how they're progressing, and what their life is like.
Yeah.
Or you're not. Because the numbers, anyone can learn it and anyone can give them out. You can do it cheap, you can do it expensive. The market's flooded with it. But to find a coach that actually cares about how your training is and how you are, how your home life is, what can we do to manage it?
That's what changes the whole dynamic for
completely. On that point then, so if we're talking about training as a whole, what can people do at home? Personally speaking, I think too many personal trainers are trying to replicate what people do in the gym, but at home, and that's never going to work.
Some people don't have that.
Absolutely.
You get your kettlebell, swing that around.
For example, if you're a weightlifter or a powerlifter, and there's no way you can replicate what you're going to do in the gym unless you've got bumper plates and a nice whippy bar, or unless you've got 200-300 kilos of plates. You can't replicate what you do here at home. So actually, my attitude to this is use it as a chance to plug the gaps, to work on your mobility, work on your flexibility, work on your engine. What do you guys think about that?
I think Sean touched on it earlier in terms of just variety in your trainings. It's not just that you can't, the movements of your body aren't going to change, you can still do those. The only thing is you're not going to add any kind of weight to it, so it becomes a lot of body weight and a change of environment. What do you think?
Same. So you can completely throw some curveballs in there of, for us it'd be like yoga, Pilates, stuff like that.
Massively beneficial, by the way.
We don't spend enough time doing core stuff because everything's sort of intramuscular. We say, we're squatting, that's core. You're going to need some core for that. But you never actually spend some time, doing some bird dogs or some leopard crawl. The really tough stuff that you see people in yoga studios doing, you're like, yeah, I could do that, and you actually spend a couple, like 30 seconds doing it, and you're on the floor. Like, you can do all that sort of stuff, and then you can do your normal stuff like squats, like you can control the tempo.
Yeah, you can still do a lot of position work as well, especially with weightlifting.
Pause, you can squat against the wall and work on that ankle mobility, stuff like that. Like, if for all else, just set out a little plan and like a couple of days, something different every day, and work on it, and then like from that end of the week, plan the next week, like I like doing this, it worked, this didn't really feel like of any value, and I just sort of, I got distracted and lost interest.
So let's touch on that then, in terms of if you had a client or a person or a group of people, and you wanted to say, right, you said a couple of days in terms of training, exercise, trying this and trying that, the goal setting comes into it immediately, the individual comes into it immediately. So as an example, say there's someone now that asks the same question. I mean, okay, Sean, can you give me a program for the next week or whatever it is? You'd ask them obviously what their goals are, and then what bodyweight exercises from. Say for example, someone wanted to say, oh, it's to improve my squat depth.
Yeah. What were we given?
Yeah.
My favourite term is it depends. It depends on that person. Like, so what's restricting the squat depth? You know, is it the back? Is it the hips? Some people aren't built to have, you know, super deep squat depth. So like we have Mike Hunter, who trains here and is a physio as well, and like he did a really good video last week on people's hip sockets, and just like people have different depth of hip socket. Like your squat depth is a lot different to mine, isn't it? But the quality of the squat is the same.
Yeah, mine's better.
Yeah, yours is better. The easy wins are to look at ankle mobility. So just getting into like a lunge position and letting your knee travel forward over your foot. Just how far is that range? You can do it against the wall, so you can start with your toes 2 to 3 inches away from the wall, and just lunge your knee and see how far it can move past your toes. Switch on to the other side, see if that one's the same, or if it's less, or if it's more.
Yeah.
And you can start working out, well, actually I must shift onto one side because the mobility in that ankle is deeper.
But see, Steve, I mean, going to your point, the first thing you mentioned was the individual straight away. It depends, he said.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, so touching on that, if he is, like, there'll be a lot of people out there say generic, and they'll say everyone does this and everyone does that. You'll see the videos, a lot of people kind of shout about doing the same thing, but as you just said, and Steve certainly knows from his background, the individual is key. So although you may have basic principles to put in place, it's important to find out actually what is, you know.
Yeah, there's a million mobility programs out there. There's a million coaches that can sell you a £5 program.
The other point in that though is at no point was weight mentioned, which is important. It shows like you can work on your squat depth, you can work on your positions, and nobody mentioned the barbell. They mentioned the dumbbell, a kettlebell, a plate. So there's progressive things you can do outside of the gym environment, and so this obsession with we can only change them. Yeah, the gym is the answer to the vast majority of training questions, I think, but it's not the only answer. You know, it's there's plenty of other things you can do. And yeah, okay, we've got this temporary hiatus, but it's not going to be forever. And in a few weeks, we're going to be back open. And hopefully, when our members come back in, they'll do so having spent time working on flexibility, working on mobility, working on their conditioning. So the old saying is like, there's no point buying a new carpet if you've got holes in your roof. So, you know, adding more and more weight as soon as they come back in here isn't a good attitude, isn't a good approach. If you're still stiff as a board, if your joint mobility is appalling, if you bent up like a question mark anytime you get some weight on your back because your core is not strong enough. So I suppose the advice is use this time appropriately, whatever that might be. Some people might have an incredible core. They might have spent the last 10 years doing Pilates and been really, really strong. But actually then, you know, their issue might be they've got no cardio capacity whatsoever. So maybe that could be a better use of their time. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I think that the more and more we speak about it, it becomes more about the individual, understanding them, and as you just said there, how people can use this, it might be mobility and stuff. But for me, in times like this, if you can really take time to understand yourself and your own body, it's only going to improve yourself in your training going forward.
Yeah, understanding yourself's important. Actually.
Yeah.
Knowing what you can cope with, knowing what your volume is. Like I said earlier, at the moment, I'm sleeping longer than I ever have. Like, I sleep now. I didn't used to do that. We used to wake up this place up at 6 in the morning, so 5:15 the alarm goes off, and you know, reading more. You know, I can do a lot of volume in here, but that's tempered. So there might be a tough day followed by a slightly less tough day, followed by a really tough day, followed by an easy day. But you know, there's always some sort of activity going on. And you know, if I wasn't in here, like the first lockdown, we didn't have this place, so we still did that kind of thing. But you know, Rachel and I would take the kids to the park, we'd do sprint work in the park, or play football with the kids, or whatever. So I think just making sure you're active and making sure you're moving is important, whatever that might be. But have you noticed that the Spartans guys are doing that for you? Like, so when you've asked them to do it, are you getting good feedback from them?
Some people commit, some people. So we have some people who like do everything that's written down. You know, they're the process-driven people.
Yeah.
And then you get some people who just use it as a bit of a guideline, like, oh, well, it seems we're sort of going down that way. I don't really fancy doing that bit. You know, I'm gonna do that, and then I'll do like some pyramid sets of push-ups. You know, or like I'll superset them to just, and they'll take it their own way. Like having some sort of structure for them there, like gives me a bit of a, like I worry a bit less.
Yeah.
I know they've got something if they need it. So I don't manage my expectations of them doing it.
Yeah.
If they do it or they don't do it, I don't worry too much on that. If I gave them nothing, I wouldn't class myself as a very good coach, and I'd be worried about the fact that they were doing nothing. Like, I've given them something, they can do it, they can't do it, you know, they can modify it, whatever, but they have something there in place, and you know, it's up to them to follow it.
Yeah, and that's it, actually, drawing from that. Home training isn't for everyone, is it? Some people have all the motivation they'll ever need to go and train from home, and that'll be fine. Other people might be, you know what, it's not for me, I've tried, I can't do it.
And there's other things,
I'll just
excuses like kids and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, trying to do stuff when you've got kids running around yourself. So.
Like, find someone to make you accountable.
Yeah.
Like Tim Ferriss used to have this thing where he'd start off with like a progress picture and you'd give it to someone, and this was your accountability buddy. And in 6 months, they were allowed to post that picture on social media or show it to people.
That's a
and
really good idea.
That's like a really killer, like pretty extreme one.
Yeah.
But like, find yourself like someone to hold you accountable, and like it's going to be doing sort of similar training to you. Maybe he's in a similar position to you. You've got kids, you're a dad. You know, you've got another business. Training doesn't have to be a set amount of time. It can be like Christmas Day. We always used to do 100 burpees for time, and that's not as long as you think.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But like, it's something that gives you a bit of like a ticket for Christmas Day. Oh yeah. A bit more, a few more extra potatoes today. But like something like that, like the fact that everyone's doing it gives you a bit more of a sort of a drive to do it.
That's completely true. I think this is why gyms like this one, you know, because it's not a generic pure gym where you've got 5,000 members. You come in here, you'll see similar faces all the time, and you know, there's an expectation of what's being done. Like if you come in here, you'll hear weights banging and crashing, you'll hear people on the rowers, on the treadmills. Like it's a fairly loud environment, but it's an environment of work. It's not an environment where people will come in and just sort of sit on a chest press and bang out their 3 sets of 10 and then
no eye contact.
We had this conversation.
We literally talked about it last night.
Spoke about it often, and the more and more that the gym's been going, lockdown hasn't helped and stuff obviously, but the more and more it's been going, we seem to have a certain type of clientele, and we were saying yesterday, there's not one person here that we wouldn't train with, or we wouldn't, you know what I mean?
You look like you could walk in and go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'll jump in. Yeah. It's I suppose in our mind's eye, we want to create an environment where no matter what your goals were, you could do it. And I know from a marketing point of view, people are like, well, that's nonsense. But actually it's not. Because the way this place is designed, if today's workout is your max out and cleans, you can do that in here. If you wanted to follow a more bodybuilding approach, you could do that in here. We've got Tom, you know, deadlifting 250 plus, so you might be embarrassed actually, but if I've undershot him there. 270. Sorry, Tom. 270, you know, and he can do that in here. It's a place where you can come in and just, you know, to be honest, I just want to lose a bit of weight, and that's fine. But at the same time, then Antonio here, competing in the Scottish Open.
That was what you posted the other day. He's doing the Scottish Open. He had a beginner course next to him.
So it's an environment where people can come in and feel safe and feel like, you know what, I'm just here to train, and they won't be judged. In fact, it'll be the opposite. They'll be helped along with that process. I mean, how many members of Spartans got just from being in? Like, Spartans has grown a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah. I think
Been around.
between 10 and 15 new members
Yeah.
that just sort of dripped in straight away. It was like, we've got more space, more equipment.
Yeah.
Like, it drew people in straight away.
It's great. It's like a club within a club, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was like cheers, what a gym.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people won't get the cheers reference, but
Everyone under the age of 30,
Yeah.
what the hell's that guy talking about?
Everybody knows your name. Most of the time. Yeah. So okay. So to sum it up, then, if you were to advise anyone how to exercise from home, my personal advice would be fix the gaps in your fitness. Don't necessarily worry about replicating what you're doing here because you can't. You know, unless you've got the kits at home, you can't. But make your peace with that and instead focus on core strength, focus on your flexibility, focus on your mobility, focus on your conditioning. What was your advice? It was around
My just reflection, try to get to know yourself a bit more, your body, and stop comparing yourself to people that don't have the same goals, you got the same body type or anything. Just properly have a look at yourself, just think, right, okay, well, I can do this, but I can't do that, and I can do this, and I can't do that. I don't have time for this. I've got kids, I haven't got kids. And just sit down 5 minutes, write down.
Stop looking at sexy people on Instagram.
Sexy people.
Say, you're not my inspiration anymore.
No, but it's a completely false world anyway. It can really push people's anxiety levels up and body dysmorphia and all the rest of it. So, no, just be realistic with yourself, and progress, no matter how small or big each day, is progress.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sean?
What do you reckon?
Focus on feel good. Like,
Yeah.
look good, such a small portion of it. It seems to be the big focus is like, what you look like, and you don't look like that all year. Even if when you do train for your holiday, like you have your holiday and then life resumes.
Yeah.
Like focus on feeling good. Like don't focus on how you look, because it's fleeting.
It is.
Yeah, because you can focus on feeling good 365 days
How
of
have
the
you
year.
felt the older you've got? Because I just want full use of my body, and I want to be able to throw my kids in the pool. How have you felt?
Yeah.
I'm not old, mate.
Sorry. So Steve, how have
He's
you
just had
felt?
a really tough paper round. Sean's looking for his 23rd birthday.
As I got older, I got, I understood myself a lot more and what my needs are and what I like, what I don't like.
Yeah.
And like, I spend my time doing the things that I like with the people I like. You learn to say no more as you get older, don't you?
Yeah.
And like, you get rid of those things, and like, this might be a good time to realise that thing that you spend time doing. You're like, well, the time with people. You're like, God, these people, like, they're a drain. They're not like radiating good energy. They're draining energy out of me.
Oh, totally. I'd echo what Sean said there. I spent a long time getting injured trying to add an extra 5 kilos from a clean and jerk, and you think, for whose benefit?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to the Olympics, so I would spend probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks a year with a really sore neck. Like, for what? Like, what's the benefit of this? Do I earn more from it? No. Does it allow me any better time with my kids? No. Does it make me better at my job? No. So I suppose I went down this road of, unless it's beneficial to me from a training point of view, then I'm not gonna break my neck over an extra 5
worked
kilos.
out what your why was for training.
Yeah, basically, my why is I want to be fit, healthy, strong. I want to be like the anti-dad bod. I don't want to be that embarrassing, fatty on the beach. My kids are already calling me fat now, so I mean, I've got a point that I need to work back from. Like, this is my upper limit of how fat I can get, and then I've got to work back from that. So my kids don't chip away at my self-esteem anymore.
Whoa.
Yeah. I went on a lot of bulking, accidental. No, so my why is I want to be fit, strong, healthy, within certain pain thresholds. Like, there's a limit to what I'm willing to sacrifice in order to have that. I'm not willing to sacrifice having a drink. I'm not willing to sacrifice having food that I like. I'm not willing to sacrifice, I don't know, the overall enjoyment of life.
Yeah. I remember not being able to put my socks on in the morning after training. And like that was like points where the training was in like a hierarchy, and the training was the top.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was competing, and that was what was most important. So not putting the socks on in the morning, or struggling to put the socks on in the morning, not because I was fat, but because I was so sore.
Yeah.
Like, that was just the price of admission. Like,
as
these are the things that you have to, like, you'd have had the same for football. There's a cost of admission, like, to compete at a level, or to you know, play the sport, to go to the games. You know, all these things, they will cost you something. It won't be easy. And like, you get to a point where I was like, you know, all these guys, the guys that I'm coaching, they're going to do bigger things than I am. So like, I should spend more time helping them.
Is that
than trying to get
realisation
myself
that,
like
look, I'm not that anymore.
Yeah,
I've kind of moved on. I've got my own
Yeah.
goals, and you don't look like a turtle on its back trying to put your socks on in the morning.
Yeah. You know, there's lots to be said there for just being generally fit, generally strong, generally healthy. You know, like that's a pretty noble goal in itself, because then you're a lot more useful as a person.
Yeah.
As well to the people around you.
Yeah.
You know, imagine saying to kids, "Oh no, I can't come and play with you because my DOMs are giving me grief." Or like,
we can't go for McDonald's. I'm eating clean this week.
yeah.
Kids are crying.
Like playing football with your kids in the back garden, but you can't. Oh no, you know, it's high rep squat day yesterday. I can't move today. Like, you know what? For what? So so I think that to sum it up, looking after yourself is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what you can't do in the gym, because we're not open. We won't be till the 2nd of December. And until then, keep moving, keep stretching.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Right, done.